It started with a subtle overture, a quiet message passed from Prince Harry to his father, King Charles. It wasn't a public spectacle, no grand announcement, just a discreet inquiry about attending a gathering for the King's Foundation. On the surface, it seemed a simple enough request. Underneath, it was a desperate longing for a way back in. This wasn't merely another engagement on the royal calendar. This event carried immense weight, a significant display where prominent, global figures converged, where the monarchy projected its influence for philanthropic endeavors. It represented a prime opportunity for Harry to re-establish his standing, a symbolic step towards mending fractured ties. Yet, the answer that came back was a chilling silence, swiftly followed by an unmistakable refusal. A stark, unyielding denial that stripped away any illusion of immediate reconciliation. This wasn't a clerical error or a scheduling conflict. According to reliable palace sources, the decision was immediate, precise, and entirely deliberate. No invitation extended, no digital link shared. Not even a quiet seat at the very periphery. Absolutely nothing. The unspoken decree was unequivocally clear. The royal institution was not just moving ahead. It was progressing without Harry. The sheer harshness of this exclusion is amplified by the prominence of the occasion. This wasn't a casual social gathering or a festive charity lunch. This was the King's Foundation event, a powerful statement about the monarchy's future direction, a showcase of its enduring authority and purpose. The guest list featured a who's who of senior royals, influential public figures, and cultural icons. Prince William, Princess Anne, Queen Camilla, and even extended family members like Zara Tindall were all accounted for. Dignitaries such as David Beckham and Kate Winslet lent their presence. Yet, Harry's name was conspicuously, glaringly absent. This wasn't an oversight, it was a pointed declaration. Within the palace corridors, the murmurs were prevalent. One senior aide was reportedly heard to remark, "The king sees no reason to reward betrayal with public visibility." That damning sentiment resonated deeply, because, irrespective of individual opinions, that is precisely how Harry is now regarded within those ancient walls. No longer a misunderstood son or a man seeking to heal divisions, but an individual who has irreversibly broken faith with the family, and subsequent developments would only serve to cement this perception. Consider the sequence of events that brought things to this juncture: the revealing interviews, the lucrative Netflix collaborations, the tell-all autobiography, the constant criticisms leveled against his own blood relatives. Incrementally, the very bedrock of trust was eroded, and this recent snub, this public ostracization, cemented the final rupture. What makes the sting even sharper is the undeniable public nature of the entire affair. The guest list became public knowledge, and Harry's absence wasn't merely a no-show. It was an emphatic pronouncement: you are no longer woven into this fabric. For someone who grew up steeped in royal tradition, who once walked those very halls as a presumed future figurehead, it was a brutal confrontation with reality. Harry had harbored hopes that this gathering would serve as his pathway back, a route to reclaim his spot on the royal stage, to demonstrate his commitment to service and duty. But the palace remained resolute. The king, it's widely understood, did not waver. No lengthy discussions, no back-and-forth deliberations, just a definitive no. Insiders reportedly breathed a sigh of relief that, after years of cautiously navigating Harry's unpredictable presence, someone finally drew an unyielding line in the sand. But what was Meghan's take on all of this? While accounts suggest Harry was actively trying to bridge the divide, Meghan Markle maintained a striking, telling silence. Those close to the couple indicate she offered no endorsement of his appeal, no joint request, not even a hint of interest. Her singular focus, it seems, was firmly directed towards her burgeoning ventures across the Pacific in California. Her detachment from this delicate situation was profoundly revealing, and undoubtedly a calculated move. For keen observers, it implied she was already several steps ahead, deliberately distancing herself from a scenario that increasingly resembled a losing proposition. What once felt like a contained family disagreement now carries the weight of something far more profound. A complete, irreparable severing of ties. Harry may have wished to turn a new page, but it appears the Crown is preparing to close the book entirely, and the response within the palace was swift and united. Inside the venerable halls of Buckingham Palace, the reaction to the event unfolded exactly as King Charles had envisioned: a quiet, determined satisfaction. Not a single note of discord. Aides not only agreed with the decision, they actively embraced it. For years they had cautiously navigated Harry's erratic trajectory, attempting to balance their sworn duty to the monarchy with a degree of understanding for the king's son. But that wellspring of empathy had run dry. The consensus was firm. One cannot champion duty and honor while simultaneously providing a platform for someone who has profited from family strife. Loyalty, It was understood, had its boundaries, and Harry had undeniably crossed them. Even certain media personalities, once staunch supporters of his narrative, have begun to shift their perspective, noting the persistent pattern: the interviews, the lucrative deals, the unending stream of commentary. It never truly ceases. There's always another headline, another revelation, another instance where Harry's grievances are aired publicly. And the public, it seems, has grown weary. The digital sphere erupted once the exclusion was confirmed. Hashtags like #NoMoreHarry and #RoyalReckoning quickly gained momentum. Social media feeds were inundated with comments, some scathing, others simply expressing disappointment. But the overwhelming majority echoed a singular sentiment: he made his choices. Now he must live with the ramifications. One widely shared post perfectly captured the prevailing mood. You can't release a tell-all book trashing your own family and then act surprised when a dinner invitation doesn't materialize. The public's patience for forgiveness has dwindled. Compassion is in short supply. Even long-standing admirers are beginning to concede that the incessant drama is simply exhausting. At a time when the monarchy is diligently striving to project an image of steadfastness and purpose, Harry's continued presence is perceived not just as an inconvenience but as a genuine liability. This wasn't the sole door that shut with a resounding thud. Beyond the emotional aftermath, there's the very practical concern of security. Insiders reveal that Harry's request touched upon arrangements for his family's protection should they return. However, that discussion swiftly evaporated. Palace officials reportedly cut it short, asserting that without official royal duties he was not entitled to the same level of security. For Harry, this rebuff was profoundly personal. He has repeatedly stated in interviews how the withdrawal of protection made him feel exposed, how it symbolized his complete disengagement from the institution. Yet, from the palace's vantage point, it was never about personal animosity. It was strictly a matter of protocol. No assigned role, no justification for the extensive security detail. And no matter how vociferously Harry protests, that fundamental rule remains absolute. Behind the scenes, more metaphorical doors are quietly, progressively closing. Sources close to the royal household whisper of nascent discussions, even a growing momentum around the very real possibility of reviewing Harry's remaining titles. The exclusion from the King's Foundation event might just be a precursor to something far more comprehensive. A complete constitutional separation, not merely an emotional one. The Crown is sending a message, not through official press releases or dramatic pronouncements, but through a potent silence, through deliberate omissions, through decisions made behind closed, dignified doors, and delivered without so much as an apology. The bright lights of Hollywood, it appears, are not providing the unwavering sanctuary Harry once envisioned. When he and Meghan initially stepped back from their royal roles, there was an undeniable buzz. Coveted talk show slots, multi-million-dollar contracts, and the enticing promise of boundless freedom. But that initial glow is now visibly fading. Major platforms are discreetly withdrawing. Spotify has ended its partnership. Netflix, too, is reportedly scaling back its enthusiasm. While executives may not voice it publicly, industry insiders are clear: Harry's name no longer commands the same cachet it once did. The mystique that accompanied his status as a royal rebel is dissipating, replaced by a pervasive sense of weariness and persistent controversy. Producers are hesitant, brands are cautious. It seems no one wants to be entangled in the crossfire of ongoing royal drama. In an industry built entirely on public appeal, Harry is increasingly viewed as a risky investment. One seasoned PR strategist, speaking off the record, put it bluntly: he arrived as royalty, but he's morphing into tabloid fodder. This shift is deeply damaging. Without his royal connections at the forefront, without the inherent access, the historical titles, the prestigious events, what truly sets him apart? This is Harry's precarious moment. His entire public persona was meticulously constructed upon his position within the monarchy. Even in his departure, that enduring link afforded him considerable leverage. But now, that connection is visibly fraying. Every maneuver the palace makes to distance itself chips away at his very identity. He can still give interviews, he can still write books, but without that distinct royal imprimatur, the impact simply isn't the same. The danger isn't just fading into obscurity, it's transforming into a mere footnote, a character in a story that the wider world is no longer compelled to follow. For Meghan Markle, this latest undeniable public rejection of her husband likely solidifies a narrative she may have already embraced privately. While official statements from her camp are predictably absent, those within her orbit suggest a highly strategic and forward-thinking mindset. It's plausible that she views Harry's persistent attempts at royal reconciliation not as a noble quest, but as a distraction, a drain on their collective energy that detracts from her own burgeoning independent ventures. Her focus, as evidenced by her lifestyle brand as ever and other entrepreneurial pursuits, is unequivocally on forging a future entirely separate from the rigidities of the monarchy. This latest snub, rather than spurring her to engage in a renewed battle for inclusion, could simply underscore her long-held conviction that the door to their past royal life is not only closed, but irrevocably sealed. Her continued public silence, far from indicating indifference, might be a calculated tactical maneuver, allowing the public narrative to unfold without her direct involvement, while she diligently fortifies her own brand, preparing for a future where royal ties are an interesting anecdote, not a defining characteristic. She is, in essence, playing a different game, and Harry's recent setback may simply confirm her chosen path. The Crown's strategy is transparent: systematic diminishment. Every public gathering, Harry is omitted from every security request denied. Every perceived slight against the family is seen as another rationale to sever connections. It's a gradual but deliberate process of eroding his influence, shrinking his platform, and ultimately rendering him irrelevant to the monarchy's ongoing narrative. This transcends a mere father-son disagreement. It's about the very survival and public perception of an ancient institution adapting to contemporary scrutiny, where unwavering loyalty and strict adherence to a defined code are paramount. Meanwhile, Harry's trajectory is becoming increasingly isolated. While he has dedicated tremendous effort to the Invictus Games, a truly laudable initiative, it remains one of the few high-profile links he retains to his former life of service. Yet even this vital work does not bridge the chasm with the royal family, who, despite acknowledging its importance, continue to maintain a strict boundary regarding his personal presence. The stark contrast between his commitment to the Games and his persistent struggle for familial acceptance paints a poignant portrait of a man caught between two worlds, striving to reconcile a past he consciously left behind with a future that perpetually feels just beyond his grasp. The public's perception of this unfolding drama is also undergoing a transformation. While younger generations might still harbor some sympathy for Harry and Meghan, the persistent narrative of grievance has worn thin with many. The ceaseless cycle of revelations, coupled with their pursuit of commercial endeavors, has generated a palpable fatigue. What was once interpreted by some as a courageous step towards autonomy is now, for a significant segment of the public, viewed as a self-imposed exile, with even louder calls emerging for the formal revocation of their remaining titles. This evolving sentiment highlights the profound rift that has materialized between the Sussexes and the British populace. Indeed, the long-term implications are becoming increasingly evident. There's even whispered speculation among royal commentators about Harry potentially adopting Spencer, his mother's maiden name, a move that would further emphasize his separation from the Windsor lineage. Such a drastic measure, if pursued, would not only constitute a symbolic break, but could also ignite further debate about his place within the royal lineage for generations to come. It would be a definitive declaration, metaphorically slamming the door on any conceivable return to the active core of the monarchy. Ultimately, the future for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex hinges on a fundamental realization: the avenues through which they once commanded global attention are narrowing, and the royal connection that initially provided their leverage is now actively being dismantled by the very institution they chose to depart. Their capacity to redefine themselves, to forge an identity and exert influence, truly independent of their royal past, will be the ultimate test of their long-term viability. The chessboard has been reset, and the subsequent moves are entirely their own. The lingering question remains: can they truly establish a new realm of influence, or are they destined to remain figures caught in the perpetual limbo between two distinct worlds?